The Legend of Zelda has always been an action-adventure puzzle game. However, what would happen if Nintendo made a Paper Mario version? A game that uses similar mechanics and settings, but with Zelda characters. Well, let's find out how that could turn out. Now, The Legend of Zelda mostly takes place in the fictional kingdom of Hyrule. The protagonist of the series is Link, a young man who's destined in almost all of the games to save Hyrule from the clutches of the evil thief Ganondorf, or his alter ego, the Dark Beast Ganon. And every now and then, there's a different villain that wants to take over, for example Zant or Vati. Throughout the years, the games have always been seen in a couple of different styles and settings. For example, in the main series, we have the standard action-adventure puzzle in 2D or 3D. Another good example of a totally different style is Link's crossbow training in Hyrule Warriors. They were very different from the main series. However, the formula for the Paper Mario games has never been seen in any Zelda title, not even certain aspects of it. So could a Paper Zelda work, and what would it look like? Well, let's start by taking a quick look at the Paper Mario games to see what the big elements are. The game combines traditional role-playing gameplay elements with concepts and features from the Mario franchise. The main protagonist Mario overcomes obstacles placed in the game's overworld by jumping and using his hammer. The graphics consist of a mixture of 3D elements and 2D characters who look as if they were made of paper. Battles in the Paper Mario games borrow elements from the Super Mario RPG and traditional role-playing titles. It features a turn-based system in which players select an attack, defense, or item from a menu. And it also features an action commands mechanic where the player can receive substantial attack or defense bonuses when they perform a timed button press correctly or follow some other instruction. Besides that, the story is also a big part of the game. These things are the most important features that make Paper Mario games different from the normal main series ones. So what would this look like in The Legend of Zelda? Well, let's first start with the story. Could this be a nice fit? Well, yes, actually. The Zelda series is quite story-heavy, especially if you compare it to the Super Mario series. When they made the first Paper Mario game, they had to come up with a ton of new characters because they didn't have enough. This also goes for the locations you see in the game. Most of them were never seen in any of the games before. Now, we won't have this problem with the Zelda franchise, since they have a ton of big, prominent characters and smaller, less important ones. A good example of this is Vati. This is a well-known character with backstory and an interesting personality. He could easily be used as a main character in one of the games. And other smaller characters like Beetle are very useful to fill a location with NPCs to interact with and make the world feel more real and alive. Besides that, Link has been to a lot of different places and regions in Hyrule, and even went to other parts of the world like Holodrum and Labrina. Now, there were also a ton of different universes that we've seen in the series, and also dream worlds. This combined with the huge amount of different characters gives Nintendo a lot of options when it comes to creating the story for the game. There are so many creatures and people in the Zelda series that have weird powers, and there are a ton of different universes you can travel to that Nintendo can make any plot twist happen. Compared to the Mario games, they have a lot of options and freedom, so the story won't be a problem, I think. Now for the combat system. Turn-based is extremely different from all the stuff we have seen in the other Zelda games. The normal games have an action combat system. This means that everything happens right there and then, so no waiting, you will have to respond quick. But turn-based is more laid back, slower, and focuses more on strategy and planning. It's a bit like playing a short RTS game with every fight. However, is this even fitting for the characters in the series? And besides that, would fans of the Zelda games like this style? Well, we have seen other Nintendo games like Pokemon, Mario and Luigi, Paper Mario of course, and some others do it with huge success. However, most of these games have been using this formula from the very beginning, or for a very, very long time at least, and never really did combat like Zelda does it. So Nintendo has more than enough experience with this, and throughout the Zelda games, the enemies and heroes have had a lot of different abilities. so coming up with powers and attacks should be easy for them. They could even add in special moves and magic, since there were a couple of games where Link had a magic bar and used stuff like Din's fire. But I'm not sure if fans would like this new format, since it's very different from what they are used to. However, it could also be that because of all the Nintendo franchises that use this combat system, people will already be familiar with it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of it. Everything takes too long and I get distracted and bored really fast. But maybe this can work out for the Zelda fanbase, and maybe some Paper Mario fans will also check it out. Now what about the world exploring aspect? Usually your quests take you all over the place, and would this be fitting with Zelda? Well, like we have seen with Breath of the Wild, Zelda fans love a big open world and exploring. Nintendo is also really good at that. So this aspect will certainly not be a problem, and another fitting aspect of these games is the puzzles found in the world. In the first 3 Paper Mario games, you gather partners with specialized skills required to advance progression in the game, and must often face puzzles and boundaries based around said partners' abilities. This aspect will be amazing. There are so many different characters with interesting powers that Nintendo can make a ton of very unique puzzles. For example, puzzles where you have to go to a different dimension to solve it, or that it requires a special mask from the Happy Mask salesman. Anything you could think of could work. And this also goes for the items, which is also a huge part of Paper Mario's gameplay. And since items have always been a crucial part of the Legend of Zelda series, there are a bunch Nintendo could choose from. For example, the different potions for healing items and restoring magic, the different arrows as special bow attacks, and a whole lot more. Clearly, everything what makes Paper Mario could work in a Paper Zelda game. They have everything they would need. Overall, it would be easier for them to make a Paper Zelda than a Mario one, since the Mario franchise just doesn't have a whole lot of story elements, locations, and different characters. They started out with almost nothing and had to make a lot from scratch. Now, would Nintendo ever make this game? Well, no. The only way I can imagine this happening is if there's a crossover game. Mario kind of claimed this concept, and Nintendo usually doesn't mix formats. So that's the reason why I don't see it happening. Would it be cool to have a Paper Zelda game? Of course! But sadly enough, it probably won't happen. Alright everyone, I'll be going to Comic-Con London this year, so if you're there, then let's meet up. The event is from the 27th to the 29th of October, and I'll be there for the entire event, so be sure to follow me on my social media to know where I am. Thanks for watching, you are a lovely human being, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope the weather is nice, I hope you have fun stuff that you're gonna do. Work hard and achieve your dreams, baby!